speaking of stars, the young woman sitting on the stage patiently waiting her turn is a Williston star from the class of 2015. So Gabby, while I have just a couple more things to say, this is your on your marks and set moment. Usually I provide a little context about the graduation speaker, but I suspect that our youngest commencement speaker in my tenure at Williston is also our best known. So without further ado, let me introduce Gabby Thomas, Williston class of 2015, Harvard College 2019, and silver and gold medalist for Team USA in the Tokyo Olympics.
Mr. Hill, that is some serious bling right there.
Yeah, you want to try it out?
I kind of do. Yeah, maybe a swap?
Yeah.
I don't know, what do you think? How about that? Good morning, graduates. I can't tell you how honored I am to be standing in front of you today as the class of 2022's commencement speaker. I think I can pretty well relate to how surreal this moment feels for you. Sitting here under the massive tent, finally experiencing the day you felt would never come, realizing gradually that high school is now a part of your past, and everything else is in your future. As with any occasion that makes you recognize precisely where you are in the universe, cliches can help guide you and you're on your way. Here's one cliche that keeps coming to mind as I worked out this speech. Time moves slowly, but passes quickly. What do I mean by that? Well, at my graduation just 7 years ago, it felt like Mr. Hill would never get to the letter T in the alphabet. Beyond that, it certainly felt like I'd never be at college in the fall, never continue my athletic career, never get my undergraduate degree, and never get a real job. All of that felt so far off, especially when we could hardly get to the letter T. And then, in a blur, all of it happened. I went off to Harvard, I got my degree in neurobiology, I set a few collegiate records in track and field, I won a few Olympic medals, and I ended up right back here under this massive tent. Listening to a commencement speech, looking around at people I care about and who care about me. The only difference is I'm the one giving the speech. As I said before, surreal. On my own graduation day, sitting right where you're sitting now, I looked around and realized that I would be leaving so many of the people who made me feel at home. So let me start there, by encouraging you to look around, take it all in, revel in what you've accomplished, and cherish those people who helped you get here, their relationships, the successes, the failures, the lessons, the good times, and the bad. And now I'm going to ask you to imagine this for a moment. Runners, take your mark. Set. Go. For a moment, I want you all to imagine you're somewhere most of us have been at some point in our lives, a track. Just a regular, oval, 400-meter track. Well, regular except one big caveat. This isn't just any track. And this isn't just any day, because today you're in Eugene, Oregon, and you just might qualify for the Olympics. And there are still 60 seconds until the starter's pistol goes off. I call these the 60 seconds of eternity. This period of time that takes its own form, its own pace, its own universe. Time has come to a halt, and you're thinking about your every breath, your every movement. You've walked on the track, shaken out your muscles, pressed your heels into the starting blocks. The world seems so slow. Those 60 seconds are consuming your entire life. Your fear, you may never leave them. For a brief moment, you're suspended in time, and there are 1,000 thoughts flying through your mind. Your heartbeat, that thud in your chest, is the one constant through it all. It's like trying to break free, take you out of this moment, and make sure the world is still moving around you. It sounds like an over-caffeinated metronome, desperately trying to keep you in rhythm as the rest of your body freezes. But you are still, and it's just your heart and your mind that wage ahead. This is the 60 seconds of eternity. You've run this race before, countless times in your head. You've been visualizing this race for months, for years even. You've imagined in intricate detail how you took off from the starting blocks, glided past the competition, threw your arms in the air, and emerged victorious. But you're not in that race right now. You're in those 60 seconds of eternity, that place of doubt that lies just before the moment you've always dreamed of. And you have become scared for the race to start. In fact, you're no longer sure if your legs will move at all. It seems imminently possible that the race will start, your competitors will take off, and you'll just stay stuck in the starting blocks, paralyzed with fear. These 60 seconds of eternity feel like purgatory, but you will overcome them. You always have before. And yet, with the outcome just seconds away, you've been stilled by uncertainty. In this climactic moment, staring down everything you've ever worked for, you start questioning everything. Am I good enough? Will I win? Can I win? You just need to make top 3. You keep reminding yourself of that top 3. That's all I need. Just be in the mix, and you'll be an Olympian. That isn't too much to ask, right? So why are you so nervous? And then you snap back into your zone, that special, grounded place that you spent years outfitting. You're back. You belong. This is your place. This is your time. And then you look around. On your right, Allison Felix. No, I'm not exaggerating. Literally Allison Felix. The star of track and field, Allison Felix's appearance on Oprah, Allison Felix, the most decorated female athlete of all time, Allison Felix. Your childhood hero, the woman you've idolized your entire life, Allison Felix. So you look to your left. Surely that can't be as nerve-wracking, right? Just look to your left. Oh, it's Jenna Prandini, the woman who's been your rival all season long, competing feverishly for the top time in the world, and she's already qualified for the Olympic team in 2016. So your brain starts to spin again. The thud in your chest starts to grow again, out of control, the metronome going angrier and angrier. You see a Navia battle, Tamara Clark, Desiree Bryant, Lena Irby, Morlikea Kinnison, all world-class elite athletes with one goal: to beat you, to beat everyone, and to win. Oh yeah, that's why you're nervous. And then off in the distance, the words you never thought you'd get to. Runners, take your mark. Set. Your last thought before the starter's pistol goes off: just beat Allison to 20 meters. And then before you know it, you're 30 meters away from the finish line, and just a few seconds later, you're an Olympian. And you're not just an Olympian, you're the Olympic trials champion. And now you're not just the Olympic trials champion, you now hold the all-time meet record. And just moments after that, you realize that you just ran the second fastest 200-meter time in history, just behind Florence Griffith Joyner. You almost caught FloJo. And even though you feel very much the same girl who left the start line just moments ago, you know that something changed in those 21.61 seconds. You no longer feel the thud in your chest. You no longer fear that your legs will never work again. In just 200 meters, your life changed forever, and you will never be the same. Nothing will ever be the same. The 60 seconds of eternity are gone. Something very new in its place. Just 12 years ago, when I arrived on campus as an awkward young girl from Georgia, I felt many of the same things that I still feel in those 60 seconds of eternity. Fear, uncertainty, self-doubt, I was one of maybe 5 black students in my class wondering if I belonged. Worse than that, I was in a Jonas Brothers fan club. TikTok was nothing more than my favorite Kesha song, and Robert Pattinson hadn't yet made the transition from the world's most famous vampire to Batman. Standing outside the door to my first class, on the starting blocks of my time at Williston, the thud in my chest was loud enough to prompt a loud shh from Mr. Teller. And the questions crept in. What if they don't like me? What if I'm not good enough? And what if I don't belong here? And then, runners take your mark. Set. Go. I crossed the doorway into class and I took the plunge into the next 5 years of my life, 6 years. And while I was shy at first, I eventually began to open up. I found a lifelong friend in my algebra teacher and coach, Mrs. McCullough. I found guidance in the long talks I had with my advisor, Miss Whipple. And I grew accustomed to hanging out at the stew bop with other day students during free period. I took frequent walks to Dunkin' Donuts between classes, and before I knew it, Williston had become my second home. Literally, I was here so much that people often would mistake me for a boarding student. And then I blinked, and the girl that was sitting in those seats was leaving this once intimidating place, hoping I could hold on to the precious memories that I made here forever. Time moves slowly, but passes quickly. As days, especially graduations, tend to be, today is a day of multitudes. It is and should be a chance to celebrate your tremendous accomplishments, the culmination of years and years of hard work, hours in the library, on the track, in the band room, in rehearsal, and in community. But it's also an opportunity to look ahead. If the class of 2022 was anything like the class of 2015, today feels like a day composed almost entirely of the 60 seconds of eternity. You're looking around the track full of uncertainty. Perhaps doubt takes the place of excitement, or fear takes the place of celebration. So, as you sit here, waiting for your future to start, I figured I could give you some tips from what I've learned from my own experience in the 60 seconds of eternity. And though I just told you about the one race that I'm best known for, I think my message is best communicated by telling you about a race that I ran that hopefully none of you have ever heard about. It was March 2017, my sophomore year at Harvard, and I was in College Station, Texas, lining up for my first NCAA indoor championships. I wasn't the favorite, not even close. And to be honest, as a runner from Harvard, I wasn't even supposed to be there. These meets, these championships, were reserved for the best track athletes in the NCAA, the type of girls who went to Georgia, LSU, Oregon, not the nerds at Harvard studying neurobiology and calculating the exact number of days until it's socially acceptable for them to get a pet pug. He's right over there, actually, in his Williston swag with my mom. As I approached lane 3 and got set up in my starting blocks, my mind flooded with negative thoughts. Don't fall off the bank. Don't false start. Make sure your legs actually move. Gabby, please just make sure your legs actually move. I took a deep breath and extended my stance. Runners, take your mark. Set. Go. The starter's pistol went off and I exploded from the starting blocks, striding down the curve, feeling the hot Texas air in my face. From my position in lane 3, I could see the competition out ahead of me. I just needed to chase them down. I dug deep, I drove my legs into the rubberized track, and with each step, I fell further and further behind. As we neared the finish line, it became clear that I had no real chance of winning the race. And it was much worse than I thought. I found out that I didn't just lose my heat, but I had come in last place amongst all of the finalists. It was my worst finish ever, and tears swelled my eyes. But in that moment, the tears pooling at the base of my eyes as I stared down loss, disappointment, and disbelief. That feeling, in hindsight, I can see the ultimate beauty of track and field and of life more broadly. Looking back on it, I feel a sense of pride about the entire experience. Here's another cliche for you. We are not defined by our successes, but by how we respond to our failures. Or as the philosophers Friedrich Nietzsche and Kelly Clarkson put it, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So when I crossed into the 60 seconds of eternity in Tokyo, I thought back to College Station, and then I thought, at the end of the day, all I can do is run my race. Keep moving, get off the blocks, and take the next stride. You never know the outcome until you hear, runners, take your mark, set, go. And you start running, and sometimes you'll get through those 60 seconds of eternity, and your best dreams will come true. You might fail, you might not measure up. The race will start, and you and your anxieties will burst ahead of you, and you will not be able to chase them down. It might hurt, and when it hurts, you might cry, and you'll be embarrassed, and you'll feel all the things that it is human to feel. But then other times, if you can weather those failures, you'll step to the start line, you'll sit in your 60 seconds of eternity and burst from them. Sometimes when you break through those hard times, break through those 60 seconds, you'll take off. Still the Harvard girl that doesn't quite fit in, still not the favorite, and you'll fly. And you'll realize, once you're there, that it wasn't what happened after the race that defines you. It's all that you did and all that you overcame before you ever walked onto the track. That's what shows whether or not you belong. You being there on this very special day shows that you belong, because you wouldn't be here if you didn't. You all did the work to be here today, under this massive tent. You did the work to be in this line with everyone around you, your friends, your mentors, and loved ones. The races that are out in front of you now are races that you belong in. So get out there and run your race. Build life-changing relationships. March for a cause you believe in. Do research in Africa. Embrace your sexual identity and empower others to do the same. Start your own business. The beauty of it all is that there are so many races to be run, so many challenges to be tackled, so many people that need help, so many ways to get involved. But know too that with each race comes that 60 seconds of eternity, of uncertainty, the time where you can question everything, where you can be scared, and it's only that moment when you can become who you truly are. You'll never know that you need to work harder until you lose. You'll never know the heights you can reach until you take on the very things, people, challenges, and failures that you're afraid of and beat them to the finish line. So trust in all the training, the experiences, and the people around you who brought you to this moment. And have faith in your ability to succeed. And if you do that, then you can throw yourself back into the present, back into that zone in which great things are possible. You can be in your race just focusing on beating Allison to the 20 meters. I can't guarantee you'll be happy with the result of every race. Some races will bring you to tears. Sometimes they'll be tears of joy, but perhaps more often, they will be tears of pain. And despite your best efforts, most times you'll be scared stiff at the start line. But please don't let that fear rule you. Don't let that fear stop you from running. The fear of failure, the fear of truth, the fear of knowing what you're capable of. Don't let that stop you from finding out if you might fly, from finding out if something between the start and the finish line might change you. If you can get through that fear, you might find that you're someone completely different when you cross that finish line, the one you thought you might never get to. There are so many races to be run, so many challenges to be tackled. Find yours, because another adventure lies just beyond the sound of the starter's pistol. And all you have to do is run. So, class of 2022, I challenge you all to get up each day and run your race, to embrace these 60 seconds of eternity right here. Because while no one knows how this next race will end for you, there is one thing we all do know. There's only one way to find out. Runners, take your mark. Set. Go. Thank you.